RTTV, baby. If it's your first time here, definitely won't be your last. Make sure you kill, murder, and
smash
that subscribe button. And welcome back to RTTV, where we react to everything. Man, with One Piece being on fire and all of this lore kicking into the mix right now, man, we felt it was perfect time for us to dive into the lore of One Piece. And two disclaimers that we gotta give off. One, this mic situation is not going to be a long-lasting thing. We're just improvising right now. Got to make sure the audio is adequate. Fact. So don't get used to the look. We're going to go back to how it was before. And second, we don't dive into this channel right here. Joel recommended this video for us. So if you're wondering the spoilers that's on this channel, we don't know nothing about it.
Nothing. Because
Joel selected this video particularly for us. So don't worry about it, guys. So I had to make sure that when you told him that,
I don't even know what the channel is.
But this video right here, I guess, is gonna dive into some information that we've gotten from that last episode, which is 11:19, and gonna dive into information that we probably forgot about, and possible lore that is tangible to this right here.
Well, damn, do we need it?
Oh yeah, so
it's been a great season, yo.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to catch the full reactions of all those episodes we've done of this arc and of all of One Piece that we've done all to this point that we're at right now, head over to our Patreon. We got all that and more. But let's get into the video today. Oda finally revealed Shanks' family after 25 years.
Damn.
1086 is chapter of the year so far. Okay. And we say that every week. I guess that's a testament to Oda and everything that's been happening so far. We
Mango.
gotta have some order about this, right? So this chapter is going to be broken down, this review rather, is going to be broken down into several parts, because I anticipate this one being somewhat of a long one, okay? So, magazine cover, Aftermath, Seraphim, the best One Piece theorist, and Garling Valley, okay? Because those are the sections of the chapter I think it's split into, and there's legitimately so much to talk about, so we're not going to waste any time. So let's get into the magazine cover. On its surface, it's just Luffy, Garp, and Kobe. But for me, going through the story for so long, I see something different. I see Oda elevating a character and showing us that these characters are going to play an important role going forward, but just expect something major to happen involving all these characters. Right now, Garp is fighting Aokiji in Hachinosu, with Kobe being there as well, trying to save him. And Luffy's about to take on the biggest fleet that we've seen so far in this story. Major things are happening. Now, I don't want to read too much into it, but it could spell doom for Garp, even though I think Luffy has to meet him before he does die. I don't think death is inevitable for him, but being captured, I think, makes a lot of sense here. Considering what is the purpose of having this in the story, as the writer, Kobe getting captured by Blackbeard, if it's much ado about nothing, nobody gets hurt, nobody gets captured, Garp goes and he saves Kobe, then we go away. There has to be some reason and consequence.
Damn, that'd be crazy if Garp does get clapped on that island.
5D chess. There's a lot to get into, but that's it with the cover art. There's more to come about that, but not in this video.
Aftermath, shady.
The best way I can describe the first part of the chapter is Aftermath. After Sabo, after Imu, after the Gorosei, after the Reverie, and now everything is hectic. Everybody is scrambling, trying to figure out what to do and where to go. Slaves are running around. Of course, we had Admirals fighting Admirals, right? CP0 is scrambling, and now we focus on Vivi and Wapol. And this is important because I went back, and Oda's great at this, using timelines and manipulating them, right? Because I went back and I reread the Wapol, Vivi, and Big News section. At this point, Vivi's aware her dad is dead, and she seems to be over it. Big News talks about how she was crying a day prior, but it set up a very important arc, I think, for someone like Big News, because we like him as a character. We think he's very important in the One Piece world. He has very intricate character agency, but Wapol is somewhat growing on me. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Wapol is becoming likable. I don't know. Wapol has the logical reaction where he just saw something crazy. And Vivi's asking me, yo, what did you see? Like, yo, I don't want to talk about it. Why are you even here? I don't want to say anything. And essentially, he saw hell on Earth with everything going on with Imu, Sabo, and the Gorosei. So he is terrified. Imagine, hypothetically, if Imu has the devil fruit, as I suspect, and Sabo using fire, the Gorosei having some mythical zone fruits, essentially, that's like a crazy, warped version of hell that he saw. I'm with
That's true if you think about it that way. Yeah.
Sabo's stowing away. Bonnie's stowing away. Now, Sabo you worry about because he got messed up by Imu, man. But Sabo can't die. Mainly because he's Ace's replacement.
What did he say?
Sounds bad. But a quick thing we want to talk about here, and I want to point this out, okay? A lot of the ideas that will be floated in this video, they are part or subsets of larger ideas that will be fleshed out over the next 5 weeks. So Sabo and the conversation about Sabo and Ace has been lingering over the past couple chapters, considering Sabo's agency is growing, his character profile is growing, his character importance has grown. He is the Flame Emperor for all intents and purposes, regardless of nuance and context. That is who he is, and people are starting to compare the two, saying, hey, is Sabo, has he surpassed Ace as a character? I don't think that's happened yet.
They even talking about like why he ain't got the D, like showing Sabo with that.
Oda kept him alive and why Oda brought him back. He's someone carrying on the will of Cobra, and we will talk about Sabo a bit more later based on what the Gorosei said about him, because I think this continues the theme of what Oda was talking about in the previous chapter, which I mentioned in my previous review. The D and the will of D and what it actually means, what it stands for, and the meaning of it. Very important stuff. Quickly before we move on to the Elder Star section, I just gotta say, Vivi and Wapol is not a combination or duo I expected, but I'm really interested to see where they go going forward, considering the contrast, and again, the history behind the two. Do you guys remember what Wapol did to Vivi back then?
Yep.
Well, back then, Wapol, because of Cobra scolding him, he came out, he slapped Vivi, and Vivi responded in a more mature manner than him back then, which showed her grace, which Wapol should have been embarrassed by. And now look at him. He is throwing away with the same person that he persecuted back then. It's always important, right?
That's crazy,
Always
full
important.
circle right
You never
there.
know who you're gonna need and depend on. You never really know. So Oda, bringing it back and having Wapol and Vivi be working together essentially. But now, to the Elder Stars.
So Wells wanted us to dive into some discussions after a couple of these right here. There's a lot that he pulled out when it came to those first two right there.
Yeah.
Especially like talk about like the importance of having like Sabo. No, it was Kobe,
Garp
Luffy and Garp on the cover of this initial chapter that's reflected in this right here. And it's like I never thought about the idea of Garp actually possibly getting clapped because he's put in this predicament where he's at the Blackbeard Island right here, going against Aokaji, and there's still other Blackbeard pirates that's there as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it would call for a crazy ass battle that he could possibly die in.
And I feel like he's been pretty central to the story for a lot of the arc and a lot of this story. So I can see it happening. You know, I was mad when he didn't save Ace in the first time.
Yep.
So maybe he makes like a big stand here, and that makes him take his L. I don't know.
I can see it happening just because of how epic he came, how much energy he came with when he arrived to Blackbeard's spot to save Kobe. I never really thought, till this video, I never really thought about it, but you do have to think about the other Blackbeard pirates that are on the island. But I feel like, I feel like he'd have to get jumped by a series of those Blackbeard pirates that we're speaking on in order for him to die. And I think that everybody he's with's gonna have to take a major L because he came with a couple people. He didn't come by himself.
Yeah,
so I can see it possibly happening, but at the same time, I do think it's a little far-fetched just because like they're gonna have to. It's gonna be an all-out war. I think it's almost like what is it? What was the thing called?
Marine Ford.
Marine Ford. It's almost like it would almost have to be like a mini Marine Ford. They would have to go an all-out war on that island. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if I see that happening, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I notice when it starts to fade,
The
that
Elder
means the batteries are
Stars,
starting to die.
they are very nuanced,
Woo!
important characters, considering the build-up. For the most part, the introduction was pretty simple. It wasn't anything special, but over time, you understand just how important these people are and just how significant they are in regards to how the world turns. They did mention that the world bends the whim of Imu for the most part, but they are carrying out his will. So essentially, based on this chapter, it's a lot more apparent that Imu says things. He wants things done, and they carry out his will. But for the Gorosei, Imu does not care about consequence. He does not care about method. He only cares about results.
Yep.
The Gorosei, they have to manage not only Imu's whims, Imu's will, but also the world government and the Marines, right? All that is tied into one, and they have to manage all of that on both sides. So essentially, Imu's the manager, and they are his supervisors, right? And they have to carry out what the manager wants, regardless
It's like
of
all the
how
pressure is on them.
crazy it seems. So the Gorosei, sometimes their hands are actually tied, and they look like the bad guys. But now we're seeing who the true bad guy is. And I don't feel sorry for the Gorosei at all, because these people, they're doing this of their own will, we expect. Some questions popped up in my head this chapter. Who are these guys? Where did they come from? How did they get picked? fit? And what is the end goal for them?
Some good questions.
That's a good question.
Balance, maintaining the world. You understand that's very important to them. But do they have any personal wishes? Do they have things that they would like to accomplish? Are they just bending themselves to Imu's will? Are they doing so willingly, happily? This chapter, it has some very interesting responses to Imu's wishes. We'll get to it. But first, we gotta talk about the subscribe button. Okay, that's a subscribe button right
Make
there.
sure y'all subscribe to the bro.
So far, sub to the channel because there's a lot more to come. Drop a like if you so please as well. But seriously, Sabo mentioned it earlier. Based on Sabo's actions and how Sabo seemingly got out of the
If Garp dies,
situation,
I can see Kobe being his replacement.
Yeah, he's already building up to that.
Sabo and how he seems to have the checkered fate of the D. What does this mean? Are they saying that Sabo is a D? Oda said Sabo in the last chapter. What does this mean? Well, guys, I'm here to tell you that this is continuing what I expected from the last chapter. Sabo, for all intents and purposes, is a D, not by blood or lineage, but by life. Life, actions, and choices. Sabo is a kid, of course he's a noble, but over time, when he was a child, he was essentially adopted by the D's. Look who he was around.
That's true.
Garp. And Garp,
And
yeah.
he essentially was adopted by those guys, by the Don. He was taken in, and how he grew up is the same way actual D's grew up in Luffy and Ace. So Sabo, for all intents and purposes, his lifestyle, all he knows, has been taken from 2D clan members. So his actions, it's not surprising. Even his commander now in Dragon, he's a D as well. So Sabo and his actions and how he goes about things, it makes sense that they're looking at him like, is he a D? Like, is checkered fate? But no, he's adopted by that.
He's adopted by the D, bro. That's crazy.
Evan Duke D too.
Right? Koba's saying we are all D's because we are all anti-establishment. We are all against him. And Sabo, there are few people against the government more than Sabo. So he's gonna feel like that. He wasn't born a D, but he's adopted it. He's lived his life that way. I mentioned Odin before, not confirmed a D, but no one can say how Odin lived and died does not display D qualities. Sabo's the same way. That's why they feel that way. And there are gonna be a lot more people like that who aren't D, but they portray themselves that way. That's how they carry themselves. And for the world government, this is the scariest thing because wait. So we just don't have to worry about the D clan members, but there are people that
Yeah, that is interesting when you think about it like that.
Yes, there are. And I think Oda is getting this or driving this point home very well, in my opinion. It's funny the girls say talking about Egghead and how they have to deal with the Egghead issue with Vegapunk and everything going on there, which is foreshadowing saying Jay Saturn going to see Vegapunk and somewhat confirm the eradication of the punks. Sabo and everything that's going on, they have to take priority. It takes priority because it's happening in their backyard. But then Imu in the midst of it mentions the Mother Flame. What is the Mother Flame? Well, I'm assuming the Mother Flame is an invention or a knockoff, for all intents and purposes, of the flame, the everlasting flame that Vegapunk was talking about when we were in Egghead. That sun, that power source.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he was talking about that. Yup.
Failure. Right, a version of it that can be used, maybe not for a long time, but I think this chapter somewhat encapsulates where Vegapunk is in the story, how important he is, and how much he impacts the world, good or bad. A question I asked, I want to ask you guys this as well, to think about it. For Vegapunk, has he been a net positive or net negative for the world so far based on his inventions? What do you think? Let's say Dragon took him out back then when they met when they were young. Would the world be better? Would it be worse? Think about what's transpired recently. We have Vegapunk creating the Seraphim. We'll talk about those guys. But also he's created the Mother Flame, which seems to power a device, which we'll talk about, that just eradicated an entire nation. But Vegapunk has created the climate machine, different ways in which people can live, and people can eat. Those things are not privy or available to the rest of the world. They are confined on Egghead. So therefore, has Vegapunk been a net positive? Think about also Vegapunk's group before then. Mads, right? Who was in Mads? Caesar, Judge.
Damn.
Wow.
Those guys contributed.
It really does make it look like it's more of a net negative that he's been contributing for what we know so far.
Own specific niches. Has that been good for the world? I don't think so. Something to think about. A quick tangent, just something I thought about when I was going through this chapter. Now, back to the Gorosei. Imu insists on testing this.
That is
device,
interesting.
right? Because they have the Mother Flame. It's something that more than likely, well, confirmed, it was an invention by Vegapunk. And the Mother Flame more than likely is a less completed version of that power source the ancient kingdom was trying to create, that more than likely powered the giants, that ancient giant back then, the metal giant thing. He created a version of that. Now, the Gorosei, they're trying to discuss exactly where to test it, where logically, the water, the forest somewhere. And Imu says Lelouchia Kingdom. We know the reasoning behind it already, right? That's why the timelines and manipulating them. It's ingenious by Oda, because for Lelouchia, there's been an uprising. We will find out later in the chapter, which we'll get to. As soon as Sabo got there, they mobbed and took the nobles, the kings from Lelouchia Kingdom. So they were already in the middle of an uprising, right? So Lelouchia Kingdom has been chosen, but for the Gorosei, it's like, okay, you want us to do something so radical, and we're going to be the ones on the hook for this because we have to find out our reasoning behind it. Or we just act like it doesn't exist. That's probably the easiest way, and that's essentially what they did. But Imu's words here, they're powerful, man. First off, how they're written in bold, it just tells you just the command and the force behind it. Something I wanted to address as well, again, another quick tangent, is shout out to my guy Arthur from the Library of Horror. You know, Arthur is a Japanese speaker. He breaks down the story in a different way in which he can understand the core or the raw language, what Oda's trying to convey. And in the chapter, he said that Imu's speech reminded him of somewhat of a child, right? It was childlike. And for Imu, there's a theory floating around that Imu could be a child or a very young person. And based on the best theorists in the world, we will talk about that in that segment, I don't think that's far-fetched. But even in this chapter here, Imu does not care. There's no care, no remorse.
Could be a kid that traveled in the future like Momonosuke, but way further.
Maybe, yeah.
Of no consequence, meaning it does not matter. And then the reasoning behind it is because, well, it's close, which then goes back to the mother flame, me thinking that, well, the mother flame was chosen simply because, well, one, it's a test, two, it's not the completed version, right? It's a knockoff. It's something that you can buy it, but you can't use it for a long time.
So he's saying like he don't think it's the real ancient weapon.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't just use it in replication of the real Mother Flame.
He created the flame, right? The power source. So what is the machine? More than likely, the ancient weapon. That's what makes
okay.
Vegapunk, the greatest mind in the world, didn't create it. He created a flame. That makes things scary. That they now have something that can power an ancient weapon, and they even talked about it, right? And something that was funny that I wanted to point out is after Imu insists on it being Lelouchia, based on the proximity, obviously, again, talking about the Mother Flame, the Gorosei then changed course. They were not behind this initially. They were even asking and questioning it. Then they changed course. Well, first, Garcia says, give us some time. I'll make it happen. But then Mars says they have been uprising lately, right? And so it shows you the dynamic and how they are going out of their way to serve and be subservient to Imu. I don't necessarily think it undermines the Gorosei. It just shows you how dark, how scary, how imposing Imu is, and how they don't really try to oppose him or her. They even float around the idea of using this somewhat casually, saying, well, we can use this on a whim. Imagine if we had a power like this, we could use it anytime. It makes their life a lot easier, the buster calls, all this different stuff, not as apparent, but I like the fact that we know that it's a test. Because when we saw Lelouchia get eradicated, we were like, well, what's the need for a buster call? Why didn't they use that in Wano? But now we get our answer. This is a test. This is the first time using the Mother Flame. Once they perfect this, if they ever do, imagine the scare for the world.
Yeah, it's dangerous at that point.
Something could disappear. Now, initially we said, well, this is what happened to God Valley. No, it didn't, because this is the first time they're using this. So what happened to God Valley? Is that a foreshadow for what we're going to talk about later? I don't know. Something that's important, I think, but not as impactful is we got the names of all the Gorosei. We knew Saturn, we have Mars, Valkyrie, which I'm assuming is Mercury. In my reaction, in the moment, I didn't put two and two together, right? Because we have Venus Juro, and then we have Jupiter. And I kept reading it as Venus Juro, and then Jupiter. And I was like, wait, what are these names? They're always just having fun with this, right? The names aren't as important, I think, as what they are responsible for. Now, St. J. Garcia Saturn, he's responsible for science defense, or defense science. But they're all listed as warrior gods, though, which is interesting because Luffy's a sun god, they're warrior gods, they're based on the planets revolve around the sun. Likely they're mythical summons as well. I wonder just how important and impactful they're going to be in regards to how it relates to Luffy's devil fruit. I don't know, but I think Oda is throwing hints based on what they're over, and also the fact that they're based on actual planets. The planets revolve around the sun, solar system, so more than likely.
That's interesting.
That's dope when you put it in that perspective.
What he just did. My mind's going crazy right now. What the hell?
Relates to Luffy's devil fruit? I don't know, but I think
The sun god, Nika.
what they're over, and also
That's
the
crazy.
fact that they're based on actual planets. Again, I do think the things that they're over responsible for is important, but not yet, right? Because there's not anything to really base it off of in this chapter. But I think in time, knowing now know what they're responsible for, going back and looking at conversations and things that they've said, it could tell us more about what they're interested in. This makes me think about their lineage, where they come from, how were they chosen, warrior gods, which essentially means that they have some strength to them. At some point, maybe now, they are dangerous. In different ways, more ways than one. I mentioned before in a previous video, Oda at one point did say the Gorosei have not shown their true value yet. He said that. Maybe we're seeing it now. And there's a lot more to come. This section does end off with Imu asking for them to go retrieve Vivi, or telling them to do so, not asking. Tell him, which is interesting considering what Sabo just saw, where Vivi is still more important than Sabo. Because something I spoke of, and it hasn't been debunked as yet, right? That Imu needs Vivi's body. I think it's pretty much confirmed that Imu used the Aegis surgery, but something as well, using the Opi no Mi. Another thing that you can use through the Aegis surgery is soul switching. Is Imu trying to use Vivi's body? Why is Imu so hell-bent on retrieving Vivi? Does she represent the rebellion? Is it an old grudge? And because Vivi is so much like Nefertari Lily, Imu wants to snuff it out? Whatever Lily did back then caused so many problems for Imu that just looking at Vivi and Vivi existing is such a problem for Imu, it has to cease. Vivi may just be one of the dominoes to fall in regards to the Great Cleansing. I mean, Lelouch already did, so I wonder what's next. Knowing that they have this power and the Mother Flame, what will they try next? Do they eradicate another country? Because there are several uprisings going on. For Dragon, and again, we'll talk about that section, this must be terrifying.
Nah, that was a lie.
So, yeah, you know what's crazy? Okay, so I have a wild theory about the Five Elders based off of what he just said. What if because you remember, Shanks spoke to the Five Elders. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what if the Five Elders aren't really bad and they're actually trying to undermine Imu from the inside? And there's more of an ulterior motive to what they're doing. This is just a theory. I'm just throwing it out there. Because based off what he said about them the planets revolving around the sun, and Luffy being the sun god, you know what I'm saying? Them being named by those planets. What if they have an ulterior motive to do good by Luffy? One of them, Saturn, is the one who's pulling up to Egghead. What if he's actually there to make sure that Luffy does what that's supposed to do, and he's supposed to take out some of the Navy, and he and Luffy don't fight? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Because, like, why was Shanks? Because, like, I get it. Like, pirates and the government don't mesh. Why was Shanks talking to them?
Because
like,
Shanks got the lineage with him.
No, he has a lineage, but
family,
we know.
So therefore, like, his word is way more valuable compared to everybody else. I do get what you're saying in terms of like using the planetary type of like aspect of like why they could be loyal to Luffy, because the planets revolve around the sun and stuff like that. But I mean, there are more suns.
For what we know about,
but
here's the thing. Here's the thing. For what we know about Shanks is a good guy. You know what I'm saying? He's not doing anything. For what we know, Shanks is a good guy. He's not doing anything corrupt. That's the only reason why I'm thinking that, because Shanks obviously has a big correlation to Luffy for what we know, right? And they were obviously destined to meet for what we know, right? So, and then he's talking to these Five Elders. I don't know if they're really as bad as we think, and maybe they have to do some bad things.
There could be some that's not. And some that is, because at the end of the day, you're forced to do certain things because Emu's Emu and stuff like that, and don't want to defy.
But this is just a theory. I could be completely wrong. I have no idea, but I don't know. Just based off that explanation, that's just something that came through my mind.
That would send me to like I would need to know. We need to know more about Emu. Like, once we understand like the idea of like the whole thing around Emu, I think that will make it easier to know about what possibly their plans are. Because I feel like that's the big thing. Like, all right, so now we know Oda is a genius, bro. Like, I didn't put that together with their names. So the fact that he did that, I'm like, damn, okay. So they definitely have something to do with Luffy, I would believe. Whether it's for or against, I don't know. So like, I would be interested to know why, like, a lot more about Emu's character and how this all came about, like how he became the manager, or like how did all that occur? Who is Emu? Is it a child? Like, did they time travel? Like, I need to know all those things. But it also, like, to the beginning of like this section where he's like, is Vegapunk like a loss or a?
Is he creating more net positive or net negative?
Loss? I would think like he's such in the search for knowledge that I don't know if he really cares about how the
knowledge is
how it's used. Yeah, like I think he's one of those people that like the way he's been introduced is like he always wants to be the smartest. He always wants to look for the innovation. So like it said like, yo, he's made great things and he's also made things that you can use as bad. but I don't think he's using them in that way. That's just the way
Usually
that
how
he's been
people-
forced to allow it to be used. So I just think that he's such the thirst for like knowledge
and
that's
he'll
his-
get it by any means.
Yeah, I think that's.
I agree with that too. I also think that that could be true. I'm not taking anything away from what you're saying, but I also do think that it also kind of goes into my theory about the Five Elders too, doing certain things to get to something. You know what I'm saying, right? To get certain type of knowledge, and even if that means doing things for the government who seem to be the opposition and giving them those things. Granted, I do. However, I do think that what you're saying makes a little bit more sense with just being knowledgeable and trying to gain so much knowledge that you really don't care who gets it at that point and the collateral of it. Because like at some point you gotta wonder like, yo, you do see your things are being used against these pirates. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you for it? Like, I don't know.
And
I
they're
really
probably
don't know.
funding his research. Like, I don't know how he came up on his money, but the way that he's able to just actively create these like generate like world changing things, like I would think that somebody's behind that funding these ideas or allowing him to do what he does. So I would think it's like somebody larger at work.
And even like the play on it, if it's leaning on bad, remember one of the Vegapunks betrayed him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know. It could play a role into that, but ultimately I don't know. You know, but I do like that theory about he's just thirsty for knowledge. But who knows?
Which leads us into this next.
Yeah.
Seraphim.
Yep. Seraphim. Let's get into it.
Let's talk about the Seraphim and what it means based on their appearance in this chapter. Ever since Egghead, we were intrigued by the Seraphim. The Seraphim have been holding off Reef, Rob Leach, Zoro, Sanj. They've been doing such a great job considering how they've been created. Again, Vegapunk is in the middle of everything. If you catch my drift, every time I talk about something important, something dastardly, something not necessarily great for the world, but Vegapunk is in the middle of that. Now, we see 3 new old Seraphim, right? Which tells me, do we only have Seraphim based on the OG warlords? Because we see Doflamingo here, and Crocodile. It's funny, while I was going through the chapter reacting, even when I talked about it, everybody was talking about Crocodile and Doflamingo. It's like they didn't see Moria. I understand. Moria is one of the more underrated
I hate Gecko
characters
Moria.
in regards to strength. And when you compare it to Doflamingo and Crocodile, it's no contest. Moria's pretty strong. And Moria, for all intents and purposes, is the only warlord that was doing his job. And now he's just childlike and happy here. No one cares about him. I mean, I'm young.
I hate Moria because people don't like Moria.
I think his appearance here has led to some very interesting theories, and we're not going to spend too much time on Moria. Let's get it. Seeing Crocodile here, people have been starting to speculate about what's going on. I must admit, looking at Crocodile, I have to say Crocodile is very feminine. Is this on purpose? We see Crocodile as a kid.
This theory.
To be honest. Now, I don't think this confirms that Crocodile or Croco Mom, but I know Oda knows about the theory, and he might be just playing with
It's crazy how much people think about that theory about Crocodile possibly being a girl in the past.
Does this have something to do with Crocodile's lineage or his origins? Is Crocodile originally a clone? I don't know. The scar there, just before aesthetic, right? The fact that he looks so feminine could be another thing. Could just be Oda playing with us again, but intriguing stuff. And again, we have a Crocodile Seraphim. I'm interested in the devil fruit though, because we know Crocodile has a Logia. They can't implement Logia with the Seraphim. So what is his devil fruit?
Good question.
That'd be interesting. What devil fruit makes the most sense? Let me ask you guys. You know me now. Now we have the god Doflamingo, right?
Doflamingo.
Came from destroying entirely. People saying he reminds him of Kid Buu. I'm saying Crocodile reminds me of Frollo, right from Hunter x Hunter. I am just really interested in these Seraphim.
Yeah, Doflamingo's definitely not Kid Buu. They hype that.
How many Seraphim were there and the holding cells, right? The holding canisters, you want to say. We have to 6, and there were only 3 there. Actually 4. S-Shark, S-Hawk, S-Bear, and...
That's true. There was, I was thinking about that before.
At least in Egghead. So I thought they were there, but they've already been deployed because, well, the Navy they have their hands full. And something we gotta point out as well. The narrator was working this chapter, right? Every single section, the narrator is jumping in to let us know, hey, the Marines have gone in a different direction, right? They've already moved on from the warlords. The Seraphim, they've already been deployed, which means that they're already terrorizing people. If the Seraphim goes to a normal island, there aren't many people in the world that can stand up to one of them. They are destructive and dangerous. And if they have the personality of someone like Doflamingo, I want to see them in action. I know, I love villains. They're dastardly but they make stories interesting. So as a Doflamingo stand, I'm happy. My heart is full.
Doflamingo!
You got a fellow fan over
Yeah.
here.
Now, let's talk about the best One Piece theorists. In this section, we go back to Sabo and Dragon and Ivankov. And what we're talking about. Sabo is giving us a retelling of the events from his perspective that we missed out on because he's telling them a story of what happened. And Oda is going back again, manipulating the timelines and telling us exactly what went down. We've seen everything up to this point. So Sabo doesn't necessarily have to say it again. So he's continuing from what we did not see. Essentially, he gets to Lucia. Again, like I mentioned, they kidnapped the king and the queen. And so they're praising him naturally because he's the Flame Emperor at this point. And they were already inspired by Bello Betty. And so a lot of people were already there. Not a lot. A few hopefuls, a few recruits were already there, ready to go with Sabo. And he was ready to take them and accept them because the revolutionaries, they always need people. Come to find out, Sabo is a lot smarter than we thought because once he was talking to Dragon back then, we were like, Sabo, don't you think they can trace you? He knows that. So he used an encryption, essentially a VPN, right? And he did that to make
VPN.
And then that happened. Of course, he didn't expect them to destroy the entire island, but they did. They traced the call, destroyed Lucia, and Sabo's like, listen, I don't know, but I saw a shadow, and then Lucia was gone. But then, something I did not expect. I thought Shaka was a great theorist, right? I thought Dragon was a great theorist. Vegapunk, even Robin, how they put things together, insane. No one is a better One Piece theorist than Ivankov.
Ivankov, yeah.
Hara, not Grand Line. Not even BDA, but Ivankov. Ivankov was on a roll this chapter. I felt inspired. I wanted to go back and read this again and see if I could find something. The best One Piece theory you've ever seen? I guess so. I don't know. It's almost like the fourth wall. Like, I'm watching, like, yo, is Oda playing with us right now? Like, Ivankov, okay, let's break down what Ivankov said. So Ivankov, just like Cobra, picked up on the name Imu. And apparently the name Imu is connected to the 20 kings from back then, like we talked about last chapter, saying, okay, this could be more than likely one of the 20 kings. It's not confirmed, but they said there was someone named Imu, right, from the house of Narona. And that's one of the first 20 sovereigns, right? First, cool. So then Ivankov is putting two and two together like we have, saying, well, okay, there's this person from back then that seems to have existed for a long time. You know, there's an ability called Eternal Youth Surgery, right? Where someone's out there that does not have to worry about death. And the fact that we know there's an ability like this means that it's been used before, right? Ivankov then says, well, I mean, who else could control or command the celestial dragons, right? They are descendants of the gods after all. Ivankov then thinks about the clouds again, saying, wait, we saw something above the clouds. And if the world government made it, there's only one person that could have done that. That's Vegapunk. Dragon's like, wait, Eva. I don't think Vegapunk would make something like that. Based on their conversations, Vegapunk seems to care about people. But there's another side to him that cares about invention, innovation, regardless of people. But I don't think Dragon's wrong, though. But Eva, he's putting the pressure on. So then Eva makes a conclusion we all have. What if it was an ancient weapon? I don't know the Eva accent. Eva's conclusions, I think, are correct, and that's where we've been going with it. And they're like, okay, if Imu has been living for so long, it makes sense. And Dragon's like, well, that makes sense. And Robin tells us about ancient weapons and them existing, but why did it wait till now? We already have the answer. We already know why they've been waiting till now. They didn't have a way to power it. And Vegapunk, he's provided that way. I think Dragon has to talk to either Shaka or Shaka think it's Shaka. But he has to have a conversation with Vegapunk. And to understand what Vegapunk did, and then having the best theorists around, they'll put two and two together and understand that Vegapunk actually gave him the last piece they needed. The manipulation of timelines is effortless. It's so, it's next level. I really appreciate how Oda is, without straight up telling us, using the story to flow it in a way for us to come to our own conclusions. It's like we're finding the One Piece, right? And we're coming to our own conclusions based on the information given. It's not necessarily being spoon-fed, right? It's throwing things out there and then using other characters to somewhat give us an aha moment.
Yeah, that's true.
In the next segment, I had an aha moment where it's like, oh, no way. You guys are gonna have the same thing if you don't know about this. Let's talk about the Garling Valley.
That one was interesting right there, yo.
It was.
Cause like I think they played like there's such a big mystery behind Imu and like who he really is. And it kind of throws me off too, cause it makes me want to feel like, what if he had this dude, the Heart devil fruit that Law has? Because they always say that Law, his devil fruit has like this ultimate ability to it. So what if that ultimate ability is the fact that it gives you eternal youth, and then Imu back in the day was able to figure that out and stayed at this particular age for this whole time and stuff like that. So that's why he's able to be young, but also be able to be alive for this long and stuff like that.
And I like the breakdown on Crocodile with the fact that if you want to know if he's if Oda's playing on a trope that they think that he's a girl, because I didn't notice that when he popped up that he was more feminine.
Yeah, me either.
So then that breakdown of that makes it where I feel like Oda, it gives you a sense that Oda does connect to the audience, and like he might actually, it might not be that, but he might add it in just to play with the audience. And the Seraphim, just the concept of it, I think I love them. Like I can't wait to see exactly what position they play in their role, but I feel like we're getting closer to it.
Facts.
That makes me look forward to two things. One, it makes me always pay attention to Ivankov a lot more. It's like, yo, that was a lot that Ivankov just gave us right there.
Yeah.
And then two, it makes me anticipate when we get more from Vegapunk of an explanation as to why how, what, where, and why. What's going on, bro? Because definitely he knows. Because it seems like if you had to make this eternal flame, even if they didn't tell you, you're supposed to be the smartest dude. You figured it out. Like, why am I making it type thing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you at least came to some type of conclusion or idea on like what it could or could not be. So I would be interested to see like what his actual thoughts are on that.
Yeah, because it could have been for something positive, but they just misused it for this ancient weapon and stuff.
But I would think if whoever came to him for it, like it's like you know how like
But that's if they came for him for it, or he made it and they took it from him. Okay. You feel me? We don't know like the genesis of that invention of the mother flame.
Would there be another reason to make something like that?
That's the point. That's what I'm saying. You don't know.
Weapon,
yeah, but it could also do other things. You know what I'm saying?
True.
Well, I mean, yeah, everything's just really, really interesting. There was a point. I'm curious to know who Imu is actually. I said Imu who actually is, and get more on his actual identity. But the funny thing about Ivankov is that he is the one who pointed us in the direction of Crocodile possibly being a girl. Because remember, Marine Ford, he alluded to Crocodile having some sort of secret. We still don't know what that secret is, but if Ivankov is the one who's in Crocodile rubbing it in his face, and it's like, maybe Crocodile might be a girl. So I think that it's a good thing that he noted that Ivankov points out is a really good theorist, and he points out all these different things because he's done it in the past. Now to his point, I want to go back now and see if there's anything that he's pointed out that we possibly had missed, because the thing about the secret weapon is the ancient weapon is extremely important, and then everything that's going on with Imu is extremely important too, and them theories could be coming to life right in front of our eyes, man. I don't know.
Right, now we on to the last one of this video. It's been great so far.
God Valley.
I probably should have started with this, but rest in peace to Don Quixote Mostguard, the only celestial dragon that we can say is a good person.
Yeah, that's true. They killed him because he helped out.
People inspire people, right? Mostguard was not like this initially. Mostguard was the worst of the worst. But then Mostguard interacting with Queen Otohime, over time, his heart was changed. So I would not be surprised if Mostguard impacted other people as well. So I'd like for us to have a few more good celestial dragons, maybe even some of the god knights, holy knights, essentially, right? In the real world, in story, you need help from the opposition, from quote-unquote bad people sometimes, the bad faction, for change to occur, right? Not going to get into slavery and all that different stuff in the real world, but people that were seemingly opposed to certain things.
What the f is that even
change, and I think Mostguard is the first step to showing that good people or bad people can become good people, and that it's a result of your surroundings, how you were brought up. People say all the time that Doflamingo was born evil. I don't think he's necessarily born evil.
Nah, he wasn't. When we seen his backstory, he really wasn't.
Raised by celestial dragons, persecuted by the people. It creates somewhat of a chemical reaction in his brain. Be an evil scumbag. I love it. But now,
Doflamingo.
in the chapter, we see a figure.
He's crazy.
Saint Figarland, Garling. A few things, because some people are confused based on why people are jumping to conclusions in regards to his connection to Shanks. Well, not only the sword, but if you haven't seen Film Red, I understand the confusion. In the Film Red, the Gorosei say that quelling Uta will not be as easy, considering she has Figarland blood within her. But they said Shanks did indeed have a daughter. So the question is, who's the Figarland? Shanks or Uta? But I think the Gorosei were making their conclusions that Uta is a Figarland because they thought Uta was Shanks' legitimate daughter. That's where we drew the conclusion that Shanks is a Figarland. It's crazy when you first hear about it, but let's think about Shanks and the things he's accomplished. Shanks was able to meet with the Gorosei.
Speak to it.
He was able to meet with the Gorosei at Yonko, and they met because it's him. Shanks was able to stop a war. And what did Sengoku say? Because it's you, we're able to do it. Shanks so far has been such an anomaly in the world, and when you put it together, let's say he's the son of Garling, and being the son of one of the more powerful celestial dragons in the world, not saying he has the same powerful or the same cachet as the Gorosei, but he's the supreme commander of the God Knights.
Yeah.
The dragons seem to be more worried about than the admirals. Shanks is essentially Doflamingo with a different agenda. Doflamingo was a celestial dragon having power.
Nah, don't do that.
To eradicate the world. Shanks,
Only because he was a celestial dragon, that's why.
He was raised.
Celestial dragon who's a Yonko who's trying to keep the world together. For Luffy, I know it sounds crazy, but when you think about everything Shanks has accomplished throughout his pirate career, every single situation we've seen, it starts to make more sense. Shanks is someone that has an insane level of influence. And then I think it's a dead giveaway based on what Garling says at the end after executing Mosgard. He says anyone who protects scum is lower than the scum they protect. We find out in a recent chapter that Shanks essentially has a bunch of scum under him to protect them. Shanks' fleet weren't powerful. They were known to be weak, but he had them flying under his banner because he wanted to protect them. He is the antithesis of Garling.
Yeah,
Garling
literally.
is the reason why Shanks feels what he does, where no one can hurt his friends. In a roundabout way, you think Garling is like Shanks, where someone hurt his friends, but for him, no. It's about scum. He looks at weak people as scum, people beneath him as scum. Shanks does not operate that way. Now, Garling does not necessarily have to be his dad, could be an uncle. I think this chapter is all but confirming that Shanks is a member of the Figarland family, but it goes so much deeper. At first, I didn't get it, right? But then again, this is the beauty of reacting to the chapter and talking to the chat and having a great time. The stream we link below if you guys want to check it out. In the stream, people said, well, these quotes remind us of Marie Antoinette. I'm like, who's that? So then I go and do my research. What quote you talk about? Oh, well, they said the food supply is gone for the Gorosei, or for the Celestial Dragons. Then they said, well, we have bread.
Hey, you know Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, I'm like, why is that from? I know her. That's all. That thing sounds mad familiar.
She was told that her subjects were starving.
She's like a writer.
And then apparently when she was told that, she said, let them eat cake then. What is the meaning of this? Well, this is showing just how oblivious she was in regards to her subjects and the dire straits they were in. But she did not understand that them not having bread obviously does not mean they don't have cake either. So aloof. She did not understand the conditions that her people were in or just going through in France. And this led to her demise. This fueled the revolution, and she ended up losing her head in 1793. How is it significant? Well, now the Celestial Dragons, they have sealed their fate by using this same quote. Oda might be telling us what will happen to them, or even for Garling, based on this quote. He might lose his head because they are oblivious to the ordinary conditions of the
To everybody around them. That's hard. That's a good connection.
I throw in that. I mean, it's beautiful because right now the world is in the midst of a revolution. Things are changing. Some of them might lose their heads. What I loved about this, it shows Oda's awareness, attention to detail, his love for history. Oda talks all the time about like pulling different stories and inspiration from so many different ways. A Marie Antoinette quote. I'm floored.
Yeah, right.
that's
That
actually
means
crazy.
that there's a lot of historical context throughout the show that you may have not picked up on.
Because we find out Garling is the supreme commander of the God Knights, right? This is cool. This is great. He's also the former king of God Valley. Why is this significant? We all know God Valley is where Shanks was found. That was confirmed in Film Red. Shanks was found by Roger and Wrigley in God Valley. This, again, ties Shanks to Figarland. But not only that, if he's the supreme commander of God Valley, that means more than likely he would, or the former king of God Valley, that means more than likely he was there when Roger, Garp, and those guys were fighting against rocks. He's seen rocks. He met
Rocks!
Wow.
Eradicating rocks. But even deeper than that, right? It goes even deeper. It's crazy. I made a video about it. When we saw the silhouette of Figarland and Garling, we said this guy could be related to Shanks. Shanks' twin, Shanks' older brother, Shanks' father. Wait. You go back to chapter 434, Whitebeard, when he sees Shanks, he says, every time I see you, the scars on my face, they throb. The scars on my body, they throb.
Oh, because Garland probably did him dusty back in the day.
It says that they're talking about Roger. It says it. So that it debunks it right there. Book Yellow has said a lot of wrong because it doesn't make sense because Whitebeard did not have some of his prominent scars when he last met Roger. But if it's tied to God Valley, this doesn't make sense because he would have gotten those scars in God Valley. So what's going on? So this could be a confirmation, right? These things could be correct. This One Piece data book could be debunking this theory as far as like the man that Whitebeard was talking about because there's so many nuances with this whole theory. But the data books are made by Oda, right? They could be wrong. Even in the same data books, they said that Luffy and Zoro were equals 3 times king. I don't know. Again, they're not written by Oda. So I'm not saying that this is confirming this theory, but I think it's a really interesting perspective considering just how many parts are just closely tied together. Again, a lot of these ideas I mentioned in this review, they're going to be floated about for the next couple, 3, 4, 5 weeks because we're not going to have any One Piece. So we're going to expound upon them and see what we can find. We're going to go through the data books. We're going to go through the story to see the relevance of these ideas because, man, Oda left us off with a banger. I know this review has been going on for a minute. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give me your thoughts. Another thing I thought when Garling talked about Scum being lower than Scum, I thought about Kakashi. It could be a nod to Kakashi and how he talked about protecting your friends or betraying your friends, whatever he said. Like, I don't know. But about Kakashi, and then also with Garling.
Shout out to Kakashi.
Celestial Dragons, we always been talking about the Celestial Dragons and their connection to the moon. And for Garling to have a crescent moon hairstyle, it's like, oh no.
That's nuts.
I don't know. Do they really feel like they're better than other people? That's why they wear their space suits. It's a lot there. But guys, you managed to make it this far. I appreciate it. Like the video. Subscribe if you make it this far. This lets me know that you enjoy content like this. And
That is mad funny. The Celestial Dragons really do wear space suits, yo.
Yeah.
And then all these people's like named after planets.
Like, subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Wow.
And then they said they're connected to the moon. I like that theory of Shanks potentially being a celestial dragon.
Yeah, that's
I like that
cool.
theory because it does make sense. All the things that he's done has been out. Like, who else could do that?
Who could have that type of
Special,
plug?
who has that influence, and where he learned it from and how it naturally come to him. So I think it definitely does because Shanks definitely plays such a significant role, and I think that would be such a big secret. But the only thing I do not agree with is Shanks is nothing like Doflamingo. They might have been raised by celestial dragons, but they're nothing alike. But other than that, yeah.
Well, I think they're saying that's the only like.
No, no, they were like they had the same upbringing, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And they both neglected the Celestial Dragons at one point because like Doflamingo was aligned with them, but then they like trashed them out and stuff like that. So now he doesn't have a relationship with the Celestial Dragons anymore. And then we see the way that Shanks is. His agenda is complete opposite of that of a Celestial Dragon. He looks out for people lower than him. He looks out for people that's not privileged and stuff, and that's a complete, opposite of what the Celestial Dragons are about.
And it would make sense. Everything, because he and Shanks, they got to be related somehow because it would make sense to why Shanks goes so hard to protect the people that are under him. When he broke down the thing about the scum, that would be something that would be like, it would be like a traumatizing thing that you went through or something that you've seen or maybe a friend that you had made when you were younger to where, what's the dude's name? With the moon? Garland?
Yeah.
Garland, to where Garland did something to somebody that he cared about that he considered scum at the time. You know what I'm saying? And Shanks is like, I'm never going to let this happen to somebody like this again. And then he probably left Shanks in God Valley because remember they said they found him in God Valley. Or I don't know exactly what happened between him and Shanks, but it does make sense that that's probably like he's become a big enemy of Shanks and why Shanks is gets so turned up about his friends. And it's perfect timing because Shanks taking out Kid and his pirates over while trying to protect his friends was very recent. And we saw we've never seen Shanks on that level and that angry ever. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that was a different type of anger that we saw him on. So I think that the two, based off of that, the two have to correlate, and we're gonna see the parallel between them moving forward in the arc.
Yeah, shout out to what is this dude's name? Is it BDA Law? I think it says something like that.
Yeah, it's like BRB something.
What? While you look that up, shout out to him, man. He doing the good work. Cause I feel like BDA Law. Yup. Shout out to him, man. Cause bruh, after watching this, I'm like, damn. Like I feel like we always knew Oda was really great, but the fact that like we're in an arc right now that I feel like has widened the world even more than we've already seen happen, which I don't think has happened as much since Marineford. Like I feel like Marineford was a place that we really seen a big, large opening of the world, and now we're seeing like a lot of these questions that we've had for a while open again. And like with watching this, I'm like, damn, but there's so much more
Way more.
questions, and
Yeah.
it's like, damn, bro. Like, shout out to the manga readers, bro, because this is a video.
This is a year ago.
It's a year ago, bro.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing. I'm like, damn, bro. So where they're at now
Mhm.
must be like some whole like, bruh, mind blowing stuff, bro. Because I'm like this whole like, all the Grosai, like being the planets and possibly with Sun God Nika, all the way to like this dude with the crescent moon hairstyle and possible celestial dragon ties with Shanks. Like, when did that happen with Shanks? Since it was in God Valley, like that whole thing. Now I want to see that like actually animated. Like I actually want
Yeah.
to see more of that story.
Rocks.
Like, Rocks. Yeah, I know that's something you've talked about a decent amount like throughout the whole series. So I'm like, damn, bro, there's still so much that is going to happen and can happen, and it just makes me excited for like what we're gonna be seeing from One Piece. Like this dude is doing great work. Cause man, I have I can't wait to watch the next One Piece episode, even though it won't be this weekend. But
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. Man.
Yeah, I feel like just thanks to creators out there. There's a lot of people that break down a lot of things. So I feel like before we didn't realize like a lot of shows had deeper meanings, and I feel like because of YouTube breakdowns from a lot of different people, you can tell like because multiple shows. I feel like there's if you watch the breakdown, you're gonna see right in history things that you wouldn't even know. So
Yeah.
shout out to the creators that are actually taking the time in deep dives, and even in music. Shout out to What's the Dirt. They do that. They're breaking down a lot of lyrics, and a lot of writers put a lot into it, and I feel like they want people to discover it. So shout out to y'all.
Yo, and also shout out to BDA Law because his favorite villain is Flamengo.
Man, it's actually
Come on, man.
man. Channel's called BDA Law,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
We
yeah,
know who you
you're
really
right,
love,
right.
brother.
Villain.
I'm
Law
gonna
is
say
not
Law's
a villain.
though. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
his
gonna
favorite
say
character is Law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry, you was right. You was right.
I was right. I said villain. I said
You got
villain.
that
Jerry
part.
walked on the beat. Stop playing with him, bro.
But yeah, definitely great video. Makes us love One Piece even more. Makes us
For
even
real.
want to be more invested into the story than we already are right now. So appreciate you, BDA Law, and shout out to everybody that want us to cover these lore videos right here, man. Catch our reactions of One Piece and all the other animes that we have on our Patreon with the link down below. It's your boy Patricrt.
It's a maniac.
It's your boy Robcityrt.
It's messed up because now I'm gonna have to ask Wells to personally send me the videos that I can watch because I can't go on his channel because I'm gonna be
No,
too
you
scared that
can't.
I'm gonna ruin myself.
Yep.
So now I promise y'all I'm not gonna look, but boy do I want to, man. Yo, Wells, if you watching this, bro, send me the ones I can watch, bro. It's your boy DC.
He's gonna look.
And that settles it at
The Round Table.